Spider-Man is exclusive to PlayStation 4 platforms and PlayStation 5 platforms for Marvel's Avengers by Crystal Dynamics. Let's talk about it. So I first want to go over everything that they said and announced-wise in terms of info of how Spider-Man will be playing in Marvel's Avengers. And there's a bunch more to this article. It was on the PlayStation blog. The link will be down below in the description if you want to read the full thing. But that one goes over a bunch of things about how the main, developer at Crystal Dynamics and the person that wrote this article was, talking about how Spider-Man as a character is very, very close to him and stuff like that, and how he has a lot of personal ties to the character, and how it's a dream come true essentially to have him be in his game Marvel's Avengers coming out in September. So you can go look at that, all the good stuff, whatever. I'm gonna go over just the tidbits of information that we got involving the character gameplay wise, and then we'll go over the full controversy. So let's start here at the top. To make sure this team goes up smoothly, Vince, our lead combat designer, is hard at work making Spider-Man just as great on the sticks as he is on the page. This means making sure our hero moves and fights like he should, no matter which one of our war zones he finds himself in. When he's arcing through the air on his web line, we want you to feel graceful and light and be able to utilize a variety of web configurations and gadgets to enhance your traversal. Spider-Man's impressive acrobatic abilities will complement the experience, allowing you to seamlessly transition from navigation to combat. So that sounds good right there. It sounds like they are really kind of following the same type of at least verbiage, because we haven't seen it in gameplay, right? But at least the way they're talking about it, it seems like they are taking the same approach as they did with Insomniac Games. So they really wanted to make sure that combat felt just as good as traversal. So good to see that there. That's important, I feel like, if you're going to make a Spider-Man character for your game. When Spider-Man takes on evildoers, he'll do so fluidly with his signature flair, but also with the enhanced customization options we've created for Marvel's Avengers. Just like our other heroes, you'll get to use the equipment skill trees Vince and his team have designed to specialize how your Spider-Man plays in our world. An impressive suite of iconic abilities and attacks will be at your disposal, and you get to decide which gadgets and skills you wish to upgrade. These enhancements will be necessary for him to take on the threats coming his way. Partnering with the Avengers gives Spider-Man complete access to impressive technology available to the team, those being custom web shooter based technology from Hank Pym, S.H.I.E.L.D., Stark Industries, and more. And by constructing the perfect gear and skill combinations, you'll get the chance to live your superhero dreams through your ideal Spider-Man. And that right there honestly sounds really cool, because it sounds like you will be able to get different web technology from the likes of Hank Pym, which we have seen in the game, as well as of course Tony Stark with him having Stark Industries and stuff like that. So it sounds like you'll be able to get different types of web shooters that may do different things. So I think it's really cool overall to add a little bit of variety to your gear set and different stuff like that. But they do show two different examples of the styling they want to go with the Spider-Man, with it being separate from Insomniac Spider-Man. Of course, it looks like they are definitely harbinging on more of a classic look for Spider-Man, a very Steve Ditko-esque type of Spider-Man. And I don't claim to be any comic buff, I'm not trying to say that, but this is definitely more of a classic look for Spider-Man. Looks pretty cool, I'm saying, especially with the webbed wings. That is something that we never saw in Insomniac's game, so really cool to see that they are going to incorporate that into the overall style of Spider-Man. Maybe that'll be a whole different way of mobility and different aspects like that. But let's go on to some more stuff here. They say here, when Spider-Man comes to our stable of heroes, we'll be making his debut with an in-game event that will introduce him to the wider world of Marvel Avengers. The event is comprised of a series of unique challenges for the hero to take on, testing his abilities and yielding some exciting results. And like the rest of our heroes in Marvel's Avengers, we will offer multiple cosmetic outfits and gameplay experience options so you can make your vision of the wall crawler a reality. So very, very big thing I want to note here is that they did confirm that, of course, like all the other heroes that are in Marvel's Avengers, Spider-Man will have different cosmetic outfits to rock with in game. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that before we go into the other stuff we will talk about later on in the video. But lastly here is where the big hullabaloo happened. The big damning article here, at least part of the article, is right here. It's never been a better time to be a Spire fan. The team at Crystal Dynamics, along with our partners, are overjoyed that we get to be a part of this hero's gaming journey. We can't wait for you to add Spider-Man to your Marvel's Avengers roster in early 2021. As we promised before, he will be available at no additional cost to owners of the base game exclusively on PlayStation. So yes, it will be exclusive to PlayStation. It's not like a time thing, at least from what it sounds like. It's going to be just a straight up, just a, if you own Marvel's Avengers on this platform, you will get one of the biggest Marvel heroes of all time exclusively on PlayStation. Now listen, just to upfront my bias here, right? I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from those that, are a bit of the, PlayStation fanboys, because listen, y'all see the lights here, right? My preferred platform is definitely Spider-Man, but I can't help but definitely hear the issue that is going on here and hear the other side of this argument with Spider-Man being exclusive to PlayStation platforms, right? Like, and I feel like if you at least can't see where they're coming from and can't at least acknowledge of why this is kind of weird to have, Spider-Man, one of the biggest Marvel heroes of all time, and honestly, probably not even arguably, probably the most famous superhero of all time, right? Not be a part of the base offering for every platform of Marvel Avengers. I think it's a little bit weird, even coming from a PlayStation guy, right? Because I know that this won't affect me, right? I'm going to play Marvel Avengers on my PS4 and my PS5. I know that, right? But I still think this is kind of weird. So I do want to kind of go to the other flip argument of this whole thing. This is from my boy OmegaPro. Shout out to him. I will link his Twitch channel down below in the description, as well as his Twitter. Big homie, love him. Not like big, I mean like he like a big homie. Well, like he's like a big homie, like, that's my guy. Not like he a big homie, you know what I'm saying? But like he a big homie. Anyway, OmegaPro, right? Big homie, love him, right? He says here, because while Sony may have rights to the Spider-Man character, Spider-Man isn't a PlayStation character. I think it's incredibly unfair to consider Spider-Man a PlayStation character like you would Kratos, for example. Spider-Man is so much bigger than PlayStation and Xbox. Spider-Man himself is bigger than all the Avengers in that game. This is huge, and it's safe to say Spider-Man fans exist outside of the PlayStation fan base. It would make a little more sense if Spider-Man was historically a PlayStation exclusive, but it never has been. To me, this would be a very similar thing to if Microsoft pulled Minecraft from PSN and Switch to make it only available on PC and Xbox. Both Minecraft and Spider-Man far eclipse both platforms. This isn't like Pokemon Snap or Halo. So I think first off, I think we need to make it clear as to why this probably happened, right? Of course, there is some sort of deal between PlayStation and Crystal Dynamics as they have the marketing deals. We are getting an exclusive beta weekend that's happening this weekend on August 7th already for the PlayStation, crowd that has pre-ordered the game. So it's clear that there is a marketing deal or some sort of deal with that, right? So I understand that. Number two is that, of course, Sony owns the rights. As OmegaPro said, Sony owns the rights to the Spider-Man character, right? So it makes sense that, all right, Sony would want, of course, Spider-Man, if there is going to be some sort of game that involves him, right? Like, of course, they would want, him to be the, key mark exclusive character on the PlayStation platform because of course Sony owns the rights to that character, right? Now there is a thing that of course Spider-Man is in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 game on Switch, so that's a whole different thing. I feel like, or like I don't know how they got away with that or like what that has to involve with, but all right, what's going on, guys? This is TKD from the editing booth, and I did want to look into this whole thing about how it makes sense that Spider-Man is in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 and there's no issue there. It's actually come to my attention that Spider-Man is owned exclusively by Sony Pictures and not necessarily gaming. Like gaming is separate from the whole thing. So like Spider-Man is owned by Sony in the rights of just the movie and that whole standpoint, and not so much the gaming standpoint. All right, back to the video. I think when it's comes to terms of like, all right, like if there is a game that is going to involve Spider-Man on PlayStation hardware, right? It has to be exclusive to PlayStation to some degree, or the character has to be, right? Like, I can totally see Sony doing that, you know what I'm saying? Of course, they own the rights to the character, totally understand that, and at the end of the day, business is business. Like, this is a very, bold move in terms of getting the overall, crowd that is, interested in the Avengers game and that loves Spider-Man to buy the game on PlayStation. Like, it's another incentive, I get it, business is business, it is what it is, right? But I do share the sentiment with him that I don't think this is right. right? Like, this just doesn't sit right with me, even as a PlayStation fan and as my main console to be a PlayStation, right? So there's a few things why I don't think this is right. Number one is that when you look at the full blog post, right, it's very clear that this is a different Spider-Man we are talking about here. This is not the Insomniac Spider-Man that was developed by Insomniac Games, of course, the iconic Peter Parker with the advanced suit and that whole storyline with that whole universe that is specific to PlayStation and that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that. Like, it's not him, right? If it was him, like, if it was somehow that the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man with the advanced suit is in Marvel Avengers and it's exclusive to PlayStation, then I think that you could, put up a fair argument, or at least put up an argument that, this somewhat makes sense, right? Like, if it was going to be that Peter Parker specifically in Spider-Man PS4, I can kind of see that would make a little bit of sense, right? And that probably wouldn't warrant the outcry that we're seeing here with this whole debacle, right? I think that you have a much more solid case if it was that Spider-Man specifically, but because they went out of their way to fully explain that this is going to be a Spider-Man that is going to be based off of the comics, off of the Steve Ditko iconic classic Spider-Man, have a whole different type of look to it seemingly, and all that good stuff, right? Still, of course, Spider-Man, but just have that more iconic, nostalgic type of traditional look to Spider-Man that we didn't see with Spider-Man PS4. That's where I think things get muddy, right? Because then we're talking about, like, all right, yes, Sony owns the right to Spider-Man. I get that, right? But like OmegaPro poses the question here, you know what I'm saying? And that I think it's a valid question here, and I think it's a great question to ask during this whole thing, is that do we really consider Spider-Man a PlayStation character? Right. I mean, because in my eyes, I kind of don't see, Spider-Man as a PlayStation character the way I see, of course, like what he says here, Kratos is a PlayStation character. You know what I'm saying? Astrobot, Ratchet and Clank, you know what I'm saying? Jack and Daxter, Aloy, you know what I'm saying? Like Nathan Drake from Uncharted, Last of Us. Like, those are inherent PlayStation characters, right? Cole McGrath, if we're gonna go like the superhero route, you know what I'm saying? Those are PlayStation characters through and through, right? And even though, right, it is correct that the Spider-Man PS4 universe is its own universe, right? And it is exclusive to PlayStation, and that is PlayStation's Spider-Man, right? I think, just because you can narrow Spider-Man down to a common denominator with Spider-Man, I don't think that works up to the overall consensus of Spider-Man, right? Like, I don't consider Spider-Man an inherent PlayStation character, and I don't see how anyone really could. You know what I'm saying? Like, PlayStation didn't create Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like yes, they created a specific suit and they have a specific game that is Spider-Man related, and of course is Spider-Man, that is tied to the PlayStation IP and the PlayStation name. But just because they have that, I wouldn't consider Spider-Man a PlayStation character, right? So it is a little weird to have a Spider-Man that they tout as being, from the Steve Ditko era. That's going to be a very traditional outlook of Spider-Man and like be a more comic, inspired character of Spider-Man and that whole thing, right? And have it be exclusive to PlayStation. I think that the way that this could have been handled a lot better and still have that exclusivity, and yes, I do understand they did this because business, because of money, and PlayStation is paying for this, right? I get it, right? I totally get it from a business standpoint, and I think everyone that, is having a valid criticism on this whole thing understands that this was done because business has to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's clear. Like, PlayStation is trying to sell PlayStation 5s and PlayStation 4s, and they're trying to make sure that they have the bolstered, community and just the better offering in terms of any, pretty much third party game that they can deal with. They want to make sure they have the best offer on their platform. I get that, right? But I think how they should have handled it, and I wish they would have handled it, is one of two ways. One, timed exclusive, right? I say, you know what? Give it early for a month. You know what I'm saying? Give it early for a month, at max 3 months. I don't know, but I don't think that I just think it's gonna be really weird to have a Avengers game on PC or on Xbox, right? And have there be Spider-Man missing from that offering. Like that's just weird. However you cut it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? So I think having a timed exclusive would have definitely kind of been okay. Kind of sucks, but hey, eventually Spider-Man will come to other platforms. It'll be all good, right? Another thing that I think I wish they would have done even better was that Spider-Man launches alongside Hawkeye, right? In the post-launch DLC for this game, they're both out for all platforms, right? But let's throw the advanced suit from the Spider-Man PS4 specific universe with the PlayStation platform. I think that makes perfect sense. You know what I'm saying? Like let's throw them that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you know, that's not the most flashiest thing in the world, and that's not, you know, as the most like revenue, I feel like, intensive thing that they could have done if they're focusing on, you know, making, you know, just like having a better offering, and that's obviously not as enticing as having a full-on just Spider-Man character be exclusive to PlayStation. But I think that speaks better and is, I think, overall more better in terms of having an Avengers game that is released on all platforms, right? And I didn't have this thread here from OmegaPro, but he does bring up in this thread that he was having with another person that, you know, if Marvel Avengers was exclusive to PlayStation, then there's no issue there. Like that's just, it is what it is, right? But the fact that this is going to be a third-party Marvel Avengers game by Crystal Dynamics that's on all the platforms, I don't think that having Spider-Man on PlayStation is the best move overall, right? And like that's just how it goes. Like and yeah, okay, business is business, that's cool, but like that doesn't mean that we like step back from being able to critique it from like a value standpoint and from like a player's perspective. So as I was editing this video here, which is a day after I shot it, we have another blog post on PlayStation blog that lays out even more exclusive advantages and perks and stuff like that if you buy Marvel Avengers on the PlayStation platform. So I figured I'd just cover this as well, because a lot of it actually is what I said in a video yesterday, that I think that these are reasonable things for exclusivity, right? So here we go. When it comes to cosmetics, PlayStation players will have 30-day exclusive access to a legendary outfit, legendary emo, epic takedown, and nameplate for each superhero as they are released. This is also for the 6 launch heroes as well. In addition, we also have rewards for those with a PlayStation Plus subscription for each superhero added to the game post-launch, Hawkeye included. All PS Plus members will receive a free bundle that contains a rare outfit, nameplate, and 100 credits to celebrate the addition of another Avenger to the roster. At launch, we'll have a free bundle from Miss Marvel available for PS Plus members to embiggen our love for Kamala. So man, yo, like, okay, for the majority of this, cosmetics I think are a completely fair game, right? Like cosmetics, if you want to have it on a exclusive platform, whatever, 30-day, and it's 30-day early. Like it's not like it's 30 days early. Wow, can I speak English? It's not like, you know, it's like forever, at least the way it's being worded here, at least seemingly, right? So if it's like a timed exclusive, like I said before in the video, I think those are fair game, honestly. I have no issue with that, especially if they are cosmetic only. I have no issue with that. The 100 credits may be up for, my phone needs to be quiet. The 100 credits may be a little bit, you know, wishy-washy in terms of, all right, like what can you actually buy with those 100 credits? I assume you're going to be able to buy maybe new equipment and new gear and stuff like that, or maybe it's just for cosmetic purposes. That's a whole different thing. But you know, just some more things to add on for PlayStation members, as well as specifically PlayStation Plus members to PlayStation's Marvel Avengers if you're on the PlayStation platform of Marvel Avengers. So pretty interesting stuff here, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this as well. This last minute update here to the overall exclusive offering for Marvel Avengers on PlayStation. Let me know your thoughts. And I mean, also, guys, as I'm editing this video here, one more thing I want to bring up is that, you know, of course, I can't take full credit for this take. This whole thing was mainly brought to me by Tim Geddes off of Kind of Funny Games Daily. You know, shout out to him. You know what I'm saying? Big homie. What it do, right? So he brought up the whole prospect of like, all right, you know, they have posed the Marvel Avengers game as being this open, massive, Destiny-esque type of game where there's, you know, going to be a ton of replayability, a ton of different content to come in the future, and different stuff like that, right? And so if you're already having a siloed playable character, a playable Avenger on a platform, right? What happens when they start talking about crossplay? Right, because they haven't brought up crossplay yet, and they've only brought up cross progression, right? But what happens when, you know, it's 2021 or like 2022, and, you know, PS5 and you know, Xbox and PC users get crossplay? Like, what happens then to Spider-Man? Like, is he just not playable when you're in a cross-play lobby? Is that how they do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we get wishy-washy, because like I feel like the type of game that they have cultivated and kind of like advertised this game on being just doesn't seem like it was fit for having exclusive characters that, you know, have a lot of different and unique type of play styles and different gameplay tactics to them, right? Like, it would be, in my eyes, a very similar thing of like if Destiny, you know, had the Hunter class exclusive to PlayStation. Wouldn't that be so weird for the meta? And like, to be fair, the Avengers game has not said anything about PvP as far as I'm aware, but if they do PvP, then what? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, guys, that's pretty much where I stand here. I just think it's overall weird that, you know, they are having a Spider-Man that is harboring back to the comic era and making that Spider-Man exclusive to PlayStation. And I think that would have been a lot more of a, I think there could have been a case made where it makes sense to have the Insomniac Spider-Man be exclusive to the PlayStation side if that's what they were going in the Marvel Avengers game. Like if they're going with that specific Spider-Man, totally makes sense to me. And I think that one is you know, although not the best outcome, and definitely an outcome that I wouldn't have liked overall, I still feel that, you know, it is what it is, right? But I think overall this whole move is weird. I think that they should have not done this and just thrown the PlayStation platform just the advanced suit and call it a day. But let me know what you think in the comments below, because I know I feel like I'm probably in the minority in terms of the PlayStation community, but let me know in the comments below on this whole thing. And you know, once again, it really doesn't really affect me because I will be playing Marvel's Avengers you know, on my PlayStation hardware, so it is what it is with that standpoint. But I still do feel for those that are wanting to play this game on other platforms and want to play as their favorite hero, being Spider-Man. But down below, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you guys feel about this whole thing? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure also, while you are down there, to check out the description where you can find our Discord, our Twitter, as well as our Anchor link. That way you can listen to long form content and podcast format. That, of course, being Road to Ghost of Tsushima, and much more Road to series to come as well for podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all that good stuff down below in the description. And while you're down there, you can hit that join button to become a member of the channel. Support me and my creative endeavors and stuff like that. Me just talking about PlayStation, because I'm gonna keep it honest, I don't love my day job. So help me get out of that day job, if you will. Much appreciated. There's a $1 tier, $5 tier, all that good stuff. Like the video if you enjoyed it, as well as subscribe to the PlayStation Store to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.